Hello, everyone. I'm just gonna make sure the sound is all perfectly connected. Okay. So, hello. Welcome to another session of Wellness Wednesday. Today's topic is the last of the thyroid series that we are discussing for the month. So, for this entire month, we have been dealing with different topics to support our thyroid health. We've talked about autoimmune thyroid conditions, we've talked about what foods, what supplements are really good for your thyroid. And today we are going to talk about six of the main environmental toxins. So these environmental toxins actually work as a poison, and they are going to create a lot of inflammation for your thyroid gland. And that is one of the reasons why these have to be avoided. So if you are someone who's doing everything in your power to make sure that you heal your thyroid, but you are exposed to these environmental toxins, it is not going to be beneficial for you. So that is one thing to always remember, is that any of these chemicals that we are going to talk about today, if they are somehow they find a way into your diet, or if they find a way into your water, or if they find a way into your system through any products that you apply on your body, they are going to impact your thyroid function. And no matter how much thyroid supplements you keep consuming, or how much you take care of your thyroid, it may not give you the desired results, right? So that's what we are going to talk about. And one thing before I get started, so when we talk about iodine, iodine is super important for the health of your thyroid gland, because it is actually found as a part of your thyroid hormones. So whether to make T3 or T4, you are going to need this iodine in your system and proper amounts. If you don't have this iodine, you are not going to make good amounts of thyroid hormones. At the same time, if you have certain chemicals that contain elements like chlorine or bromine or fluorine or fluoride, those are called halogens. So in the periodic table, they will occupy similar position, ranking, or a similar part of the table as the iodine, and these can easily replace the iodine molecule, and that can cause iodine deficiency in your system, and that is going to impact the health of your thyroid gland. So a few chemicals that we are going to talk about, the first one is called perchlorate. Perchlorate is something that is found in a lot of the industrial settings. It can, in fact, leach into water. It can be found in certain fertilizers. It can be found, in nitrite fertilizers, for example, or it's used in industrial uses. And rather, it's also a treatment for hyperthyroidism, right? So perchlorate contains chlorine. It is an organic salt. And if you are exposed to perchlorate in your um, water, if it leaches into your water, is if it's contaminated in the groundwater or the surface water, or if you live near a farm where they're using a lot of fertilizers, if you live near a manufacturing facility, an industrial facility where there is perchlorate, it is going to interfere with the uptake of iodine by the thyroid gland, and you are going to be unable to synthesize the thyroid hormones that are super essential for our body's metabolism. So this is the number one factor to understand and remember. And if you are someone who is dealing with this, then one factor is to make sure that you're having good amounts of iodine rich foods like seafood, fish, um, especially any kind of sea vegetables that we talked about in the last session, because this good amounts of iodine is going to be able to replace this chlorine as well. The second one is bisphenol. So we've talked about BPA quite a few times. They're found in a lot of plastics. They're found in thermal paper receipts as well. They're found in all your containers, like plastic containers. They're found in water bottles, they're found in beverage containers, they're found in canned goods, like the inner lining of the canned goods. So unless they are labeled as BPA free, it is going to contain it. And this is a common goitrogen, which means that it impacts the health of your thyroid gland. So making sure that you avoid any takeouts in the plastic. If you get any canned foods, just avoid those. Or even if you use any foods containing these plastic, make sure you're not going to heat those. So glass, stainless steel, ceramic containers are really good option for plastic. Always choose BPA free products, always choose BPA free water bottles. Make sure you don't take your water bottles and let them sit out in the heat, because the BPAs will leach then. And avoid thermal paper receipts. You can ask them to email you the receipt. A lot of options are there in today's world where you can just ask them to email you the receipt, like Square and certain other um, uh, like transaction factors, like they will email you the receipt, right? So avoiding this thermal paper receipt. And again, if you're somebody who's working with a lot of the receipts, make sure you're not, because some people have a habit, if the receipts get stuck and they'll use their saliva. I know it sounds gross, but that is one way you're going to be able to consume it, right? You don't want to consume any of this BPA, you don't want it to get into your system. The third one is perfluorinated chemicals. So just like we talked about chlorine, similar things with fluorine. So perfluorinated chemicals are going to be found in your non-stick cookware, any stain resistant fabrics, your stain resistant sofa cover or waterproofing treatments, they are going to contain this perfluorinated chemicals. And these are going to interfere with the thyroid hormone because they do contain fluorine, right? So always avoiding non-stick cookware, stainless steel is going to be the way to go. Make sure when you're purchasing any outdoor gear, make sure that they're PFC free. And always look at natural clothing, always look at upholstery which is natural rather than stain resistant, because then it's not going to be sprayed with PFCs and it is not going to impact your thyroid in a negative way. So this is also something super important to understand. uh, Also, a tip on fluorine. So a lot of the fluoridated, so number four is your toothpaste, any of the fluoridated toothpastes which are used to prevent dental decay. If you have thyroid conditions or if you have a low thyroid function, they can also impact your thyroid, because a lot of these fluoride toothpastes can definitely disrupt the thyroid gland by replacing the iodine with the fluoride, right? And by letting you not absorb or utilize the iodine. So you want to make sure that your toothpaste is a clean one, a toothpaste which does not contain this fluorine or fluoride is going to be super, super, super important. And then there are certain medications as well that can contain fluorine, right? So if you are constantly taking some fluoroquinolone based antibiotics, used for UTIs, etc., if you're taking certain medications like Celebrex for pain, for example, or certain like Lipitor to lower cholesterol, they can also contain fluorides, right? So you want to be conscious, especially if you have a thyroid problem, and get checked for any of the medications or any of the supplements that you are taking, or toothpaste, any of the products that you're using on a daily basis if they contain such ingredients. The fifth one is going to be polychlorinated biphenyls. So these are typically found in contaminated fish and seafood. And typically, those fish that are higher in mercury are going to have a lot of these PCBs contaminated. So old electrical equipment is something that will have PCBs, hydraulic fluids, building materials, transformers, capacitors, a lot of the electrical equipment is found there. And although their use is banned in a lot of the countries, or they are only heavily restricted in a lot of countries, they are found in the environment because they do not degrade easily and they can find their way into your seafood, right? So make sure that you're avoiding these PCBs as well, because they can impact your thyroid hormone synthesis. They can also impact the gene expression, and they can also cause cancer, and they've been implicated in cancer like conditions. The last one here is heavy metals. So heavy metals like mercury, heavy metals like lead, they are common contaminants, right? So when we look at mercury contaminated seafood, or you have some old lead based paint, you have certain cosmetics that will contain, especially the bright red colors, those are lead based cosmetics. Or if you have aluminum, which is found in a lot of your cookware, right? So these are going to inhibit the enzymes required for thyroid production. An example is, these are going to inhibit your thyroid peroxidase enzyme, and thus they are going to disrupt the function of the thyroid. Mercury in particular can impact, so your thyroxine or T4 is not converted into T3, and that is going to be a big problem. So make sure that you're decreasing the heavy metal exposure. Low mercury fish options are always to be selected. Make sure do not have any fish that has been contaminated. Make sure don't have a lot of crustaceans. So that's going to be a good option. Lead free products, lead free paints, you can start using them. And last time I talked about selenium and zinc. So selenium and zinc are both some of the minerals that can help your body get rid of, detoxify from any of these contaminants, especially heavy metals. So making sure, if nothing, maybe eat 3 Brazil nuts every single day. That's going to give you good amounts of selenium. Pumpkin seeds you can have for zinc, and that is going to support your detoxification channels. And that's also going to release a lot of the mercury from the system. There are several other foods that can also get rid of a lot of mercury from the system, or any other heavy metals from the system. An example is, cilantro and parsley. They are weaker diuretics, but they're also weaker chelators. So they have some ability to flush heavy metals off your system. Tamarind is found as a fruit, and in my culture, we use a lot of tamarind when we're cooking fish, right? So one of the studies has also shown that tamarind is really good at helping you excrete any of the heavy metals. So if you are consuming fish, you can add, a little bit of tamarind paste for the tanginess, and also to be able to release any excess of the heavy metals that can find their way into your system with this fish. So today is the last episode of this thyroid series. For next month, we are going to have interesting topics in terms of nutrition. We are going to talk about some nutritional myths. We are going to talk about foods that are going to support our DNA. We're going to talk about genetics, etc. So that is specific for nutrition month. If you want me to talk about specific topics, please let me know in the comment section, and I'll make sure that I make some videos on the topics of your choice. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic day. Bye for now.